It was one of those small-town mornings where the sky looked like it had been washed overnight in a bucket of baby blue detergent, and the air smelled like brewed coffee and freshly cut grass. Maplewood, Ohio, a town so neat it could have been a screensaver, was waking up slow and steady. Sprinklers hissed across front lawns, dogs barked at invisible enemies, and mailboxes stood proud like sentinels guarding people's Amazon packages. The sun had just begun to tiptoe across the white picket fences of Cedar Street when Ethan Palmer, a 32-year-old dreamer who could never quite tell if he was succeeding or spectacularly failing at life, walked out of his two-bedroom rental wearing a hoodie that read "Good Vibes Mostly." His brown hair looked like it had fought a pillow and lost, and he held a coffee mug that read #winning, a mug he bought ironically, because nothing in his life at the moment resembled winning. The wind was playful, rustling the maple leaves, carrying the faint sound of a lawnmower and the smell of someone burning bacon down the block. Ethan stretched, took a sip, and stared across the quiet street at the Frosty Bean Cafe, the only coffee shop in town with both oat milk and existential dread on the menu. He worked there 3 years ago before quitting to chase something bigger, a decision that aged poorly, like milk in August. He was now in what he liked to call his strategic rebuilding era, which was a fancy way of saying unemployed, slightly broke, and living on optimism and Pop-Tarts. Still, Maplewood was the kind of place that believed in second chances. Or at least, that's what the mural on the town hall said, "Together we rise." But right now, Ethan wasn't rising, he was barely standing. Inside his small house, you could tell everything about him by the clutter: motivational sticky notes beside unpaid bills, gym shoes next to untouched dumbbells, a vision board with the words, "Startup Success," taped next to a pizza coupon. His couch had the shape of his determination, deeply sunken and slightly crooked. On the dining table sat a single domino, the first piece of a long chain he'd started setting up weeks ago for a project idea. A life metaphor, he said, for how little things can lead to big change. But halfway through the setup, his motivation ran out, just like his startup funds. So now, that lonely domino just sat there like a sad symbol of paused ambition. Across the street, his neighbor Martha Calloway, a 60-year-old retired nurse with energy that could power a small city, was watering her sunflowers in pink gardening gloves. She waved. "Morning, Ethan. You look like someone who forgot what day it is," she called out cheerily. Ethan raised his mug. "That's because I did, Martha. I'm living in timeless chaos." Martha laughed. "Well, chaos or not, my grandson's looking for volunteers at the community fair this weekend. You should sign up. Get out of that house before your walls start gossiping about you." Ethan smiled. "I'll think about it." He wouldn't, at least, not yet. That was Ethan's thing, thinking about things instead of doing them. He'd been that way since college. Too many ideas, not enough follow-through. His best friend Ryan Torres, who lived 2 doors down, often said Ethan's brain was like a crowded subway, great destinations, terrible scheduling. Ryan was a UPS driver, the kind of guy who always had a plan, a backup plan, and a six-pack in his fridge for emergencies both emotional and celebratory. Every afternoon around 4 p.m., his brown delivery truck would rumble down Cedar Street, blasting 80s rock like a moving time capsule. Ryan was Maplewood's unofficial therapist on wheels. That morning, Ethan decided to go for a jog, a choice driven less by fitness and more by the guilt of seeing his untouched sneakers every day. The sun was high now, spilling light across driveways where kids chalked hopscotch grids and teenagers filmed TikToks pretending they hated small-town life. As Ethan jogged past Henderson Park, he passed Lila Brooks, the town's yoga instructor, effortlessly balancing in a warrior pose that looked like it defied physics. Lila was one of those people who seemed perpetually scented, her hair in a bun, her tone calm, her eyes suspiciously peaceful. She smiled as he wheezed by. "Morning, Ethan. New to running?" He gasped between breaths. "No, just new to continuing." She laughed softly. "Progress is progress." He wanted to tell her he was making progress at quitting, but instead, he tripped on the curb and nearly introduced his face to the pavement. Lila winced. "Or maybe just watch your step, Buddha." By noon, the air grew warmer, cicadas starting their electric hum. Ethan returned home drenched, sat on his porch steps, and stared again at that single domino inside his window. The metaphor mocked him. His life felt like that domino chain, an almost. A setup with no finish. He sighed, sipped the rest of his lukewarm coffee, and muttered, "Maybe I'm just not the kind of guy who finishes things." Then came the mail. The sound of Ryan's truck idling outside broke the silence. The driver window rolled down, and Ryan leaned out with his trademark grin. "Delivery for Mr. Palmer. Probably another one of your motivational books, huh?" Ethan stood, taking the small package. "Self-improvement is a full-time job." Ryan chuckled. "Too bad it doesn't pay." He looked at Ethan with that mix of teasing and brotherly concern. "You coming by the fair setup later? Could use your help setting up the domino booth." "Domino booth? Yeah, we're doing a record-breaking domino run for charity. Whole town's in on it. Figured it'd be your kind of symbolism thing." Ethan hesitated. "Sounds like an accident waiting to happen." Ryan smirked. "So, you'll fit right in." That night, Maplewood glowed under porch lights and fireflies. Ethan microwaved leftover mac and cheese, flipped through channels showing reality shows about people who seemed far too put together, then finally stopped at a rerun of Shark Tank. The entrepreneurs on screen spoke with confidence, conviction, two things Ethan hadn't felt since his last business pitch fell apart. He'd spent months developing an app called DominoFlow, meant to help people track daily habits through visual chains of success. It was clever, personal, and about as profitable as a lemonade stand in a blizzard. Investors called it too abstract, too emotional, too early. He called it his heart. But when it failed, so did he. As the TV light flickered, he muttered, "Maybe I should have stuck to coffee." Outside, the wind picked up, rustling the half-dead maple tree beside his driveway. Somewhere down the block, a dog barked at the moon like it owed him money. Maplewood nights had a calm that was almost mocking. It made you think about everything you weren't doing. He stared at that single domino on the table again, the one that started it all. Then, in a moment of stubborn impulse, he stood, grabbed the domino, and said aloud, "Fine. Let's see what happens if I start again." The next morning brought clouds and drizzle, rain that tapped on rooftops like a patient reminder that life doesn't stop for moods. Ethan put on his hoodie, grabbed a box of old dominoes from the closet, and started setting them up across his living room floor. It was therapeutic at first, aligning each piece, breathing carefully, measuring space. But halfway through, his cat, Oreo, decided it was a game and sent half the setup collapsing with one tail flick. Ethan froze, then burst into laughter. Classic. Even the cat's against me. Still, he kept going. Resetting, realigning. Every fallen domino made him start again, and weirdly, each restart felt lighter. By evening, Martha knocked on his door holding a casserole dish that could feed an army. "Thought you could use something home-cooked." Ethan smiled. "You psychic or just neighborly?" "Both," she winked, stepping inside. Her eyes widened at the sight of dominoes snaking across the living room like a colorful labyrinth. "Well, you weren't kidding about building again." Ethan shrugged. "Just practicing the art of collapsing gracefully." Martha chuckled. "Sweetheart, that's called life." As they ate, thunder rumbled in the distance. The power flickered, and the dominoes cast tiny shadows like an army ready for battle. Martha took a sip of her iced tea. "You know, sometimes we fall just to remember how to stand taller." "Like dominoes, right?" Ethan grinned. "You sound like one of those Pinterest quotes." She leaned closer. "And you sound like someone who's about to remember who he is." That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. The rain drummed steady on the roof, and lightning lit up his half-built domino chain. He stood there watching it, a small smile curling. Maybe this wasn't just a silly project. Maybe it was the start of something. He grabbed his phone and texted Ryan, "Count me in for the fair tomorrow. Domino booth. Let's make it big." Ryan replied instantly, "Knew you'd come around. Just don't knock it over early, dude." Morning came bright and gold. The rain had washed the streets clean, the sky now sharp and clear like it had been freshly ironed. Maplewood buzzed with weekend energy. At the community park, kids ran with cotton candy, vendors set up lemonade stands, and country music spilled from the speakers. The smell of barbecue ribs and kettle corn swirled through the air. Ethan arrived wearing jeans, a navy flannel, and the same ironic #winning mug now filled with actual coffee. Ryan waved from the domino booth, where volunteers were laying down hundreds of colorful pieces in a long snaking line that wound through picnic tables and past the stage. "Look who showed up," Ryan called. Ethan grinned. "Wouldn't miss it. Besides, I needed proof that dominoes can actually stand longer than my career." They spent the next few hours setting up, laughing at every minor collapse and cheering at every section that stood firm. Lila stopped by with smoothies. "I'm proud of you," she said, handing Ethan one. "You're part of something again." He smiled. "Let's see if it actually works." As the afternoon sun dipped and the town gathered around the massive domino trail, the mayor, an older man named Harold Finn with suspenders and endless optimism, took the mic. Today, he said, we prove what Maplewood is all about. Every piece matters. Every person counts. He gestured to Ethan, and this fine gentleman helped remind us what rebuilding looks like. Ethan blushed, hiding behind his mug. The countdown began. 3, 2, 1. The first domino tipped. The wave began. Click, clack, click, clack, like music, like heartbeat, like redemption. The entire town watched as the colorful path curved and danced and twisted, and halfway through, a gust of wind knocked one table slightly out of alignment. The chain stopped. Silence. Then, laughter. Ryan yelled, plot twist. Kids ran to fix the gap. Ethan took a deep breath, stepped forward, and carefully placed one more domino in the gap. The line continued. The chain finished with a spectacular spiral, ending in a tiny American flag popping upright. The crowd cheered. Fireworks small town approved, low noise ones popped in the sky. Ethan looked at Ryan, then at the crowd, then at the single domino in his hand, the one he brought from home. He smiled, whispering, falling's fine. As long as you build again. And in that golden, firework-lit moment, he felt it, not success, not fame, but peace. The kind that comes when you realize falling doesn't mean failing. It just means your next move matters more. The morning after the fair smelled like second chances and leftover funnel cake. Maplewood streets were still sprinkled with confetti and the faint chalk outlines of yesterday's joy. The sky, an over-caffeinated shade of blue, arched over the town like it was cheering too. Birds seemed louder, lawns looked greener, and even the old, "Welcome to Maplewood" sign had a new sparkle. As if proud that its residents could pull off a world record domino run without accidentally setting fire to something. Inside his small rental house, Ethan Palmer woke up to a room still cluttered with half-built dreams and one very smug cat. Oreo was sprawled across the couch like a celebrity recovering from a red carpet event, his tail lazily flicking near a knocked-over mug that once said #winning. Ethan groaned, rubbing his eyes. The digital clock blinked 9:42 a.m., late by responsible adult standards, early by trying to rebuild your life standards. The smell of leftover mac and cheese hung in the air, mingled with the faint citrus of Martha's cleaning spray from yesterday. He shuffled to the kitchen, poured himself coffee, and stared out the window at Cedar Street. It looked like a Norman Rockwell painting that had discovered Wi-Fi. Ryan's brown UPS truck idled 2 doors down, kids zipped past on scooters, and Martha Calloway was already outside with her sunflower patterned apron, waving to a passing cyclist. Life went on, steady and rhythmic, the way small towns did. But something in Ethan's chest buzzed, a quiet hum that hadn't been there in a long time. A feeling of movement. He sat at his table, the same one where that first lonely domino once sat, and opened his laptop. The screen flickered on, revealing the dusty logo of his abandoned startup, DominoFlow. The blue icon blinked, waiting for him to do something. He sipped coffee, half smiled, and whispered, "Round 2. The idea came fast and messy, like most good ones do. What if DominoFlow wasn't just a habit tracker but a community platform, where people could visualize progress together, like those domino chains at the fair? Where every person's small victory triggered another's. Motivation by momentum." He scribbled notes furiously, shared challenges, visual maps, connection, humor. He laughed at himself mid-scribble. "You're really doing this again? Didn't we learn last time?" Oreo blinked as if saying, "You barely learned to close the fridge, man." Still, Ethan opened a blank document labeled, "Rebuild Plan." It wasn't perfect. It wasn't polished. But it was a start. And sometimes, that's all a comeback needs. A shaky, caffeinated, half-certain start. Later that day, Ryan dropped by in his work uniform, smelling like fresh cardboard and effort. He leaned against the doorway, sipping a gas station smoothie. "So, hero of Maplewood," he said, "what's the post-fair plan?" "Starting a domino cult." Ethan smirked. "Close. I'm rebuilding DominoFlow. But this time, it's not just about me. It's about everyone." Ryan raised an eyebrow. "Everyone, huh? Bold. Slightly concerning. You finally gonna charge people for motivation instead of giving it away for free. Something like that. Good. Just don't make me your marketing mascot again. I still haven't recovered from the last time you made me dress as a human domino." Ethan laughed. "No costumes. Just commitment." Ryan nodded, that big brother approval shining through. "Well, If you need a delivery guy to ship your optimism nationwide, I'm your man. By afternoon, Ethan drove to Maplewood co-work loft, a renovated factory turned shared workspace. Inside, young freelancers typed furiously while sipping overpriced cold brew. A mural on the exposed brick wall read, "Hustle humbly." The air smelled like ambition and almond milk. Ethan found a corner desk, opened his laptop, and began sketching the new DominoFlow layout. The ideas flowed: features, designs, little animated domino icons representing daily wins. Next to him sat Tina Howard, a graphic designer in her late 20s with purple hair and a "Be Kind, Rewind" tote bag. She glanced over at his screen. "Cool app. You making a game?" "Kind of," Ethan replied. "It's about progress. You know, like dominoes, how one small action can trigger another." She grinned. "Love that. But don't make it too preachy. People like growth, not guilt." He laughed. Noted. By evening, Ethan left the loft with a USB drive full of mock-ups and a to-go cup labeled, "Energize Thrive Latte." The air outside smelled like rain was coming, thick and earthy. He passed by the Frosty Bean Cafe, peeking through the window where MIA, the new barista, was scribbling inspirational quotes on the chalkboard. Today's read, "A fall is just a plot twist in your success story." He smiled. Coincidence or cosmic joke, either way, it fit. At home, he set up his dominoes again, only this time in a perfect spiral on his coffee table. Each row represented a task: call investors, build prototype, create pitch deck, launch website. As he placed the final piece, he said aloud, "Don't fall yet, guys. I need at least one win before bedtime. Blank, _ blank." The next few weeks rolled out like a montage only life could choreograph, Ethan working late nights at the loft, fueled by caffeine and stubborn hope. Martha dropping by with banana bread and unsolicited wisdom. Sugar helps when your dreams give you heartburn. Ryan popping in with updates from the world of package delivery and unsolicited advice. If you're gonna crash, crash loud so people know you tried. Lila inviting him to early morning yoga to center his focus, though Ethan mostly centered his inability to touch his toes. One Friday evening, as the sunset melted gold over the rooftops, Ethan got an email notification. The subject line read, "DominoFlow, let's talk funding." His heart skipped. It was from a small startup accelerator in Columbus that supported community-driven tech ideas. He stared at the screen, half disbelieving. He texted Ryan, "I think I just got a shot." Ryan replied, "If it's tequila, count me in. If it's business, count me in louder." 3 days later, Ethan found himself in a sleek conference room in downtown Columbus, wearing his only blazer and the same nervous smile he used on first dates. The investors listened intently as he presented his updated concept: clean visuals, clear goals, a focus on connection over competition. When he reached the slide showing Maplewood's fair photos, the domino run, the people laughing, the sense of unity, the room softened. He ended with, "People don't need perfection. They need motion, even if it's one domino at a time." Silence followed. Then one of the investors, a sharp-eyed woman named Charlotte Blake, smiled. "Mr. Palmer, you've got something authentic here. Let's help you stand it up properly." When Ethan walked out into the Columbus sunshine, contract in hand, it felt like breathing for the first time in months. He didn't jump or shout. He just smiled quietly, the way you do when you finally start believing the good parts. Back in Maplewood, news spread faster than gossip at a church picnic. Martha told the grocery clerk. Ryan announced it during deliveries. Even Mayor Finn mentioned it at the next town meeting. "Our boy Ethan's dominoes are standing tall," he said, thumping the podium. Ethan, now juggling investor calls, design sprints, and small-town fame, stayed humble and hilarious. He hosted workshops at the community center, showing kids how to build domino chains as metaphors for perseverance. The first class ended with every kid shouting, "Even if we fall, we stand again." Martha cried. Ryan filmed it for Instagram, adding the caption, "Maplewood, powered by caffeine and second chances." Months passed. DominoFlow launched its beta version online. Thousands joined, students tracking habits, parents rebuilding routines, veterans adjusting to civilian life. Each user added to a virtual domino chain that grew daily, stretching like a living symbol of collective motion. Ethan watched the numbers rise, the feedback pour in. People weren't just using it, they were connecting through it. He'd built something bigger than code, a movement made of everyday resilience. But life, being life, had to test him again. One stormy evening, while updating the app's server, Ethan accidentally triggered a glitch that deleted half the user data. In seconds, months of progress vanished from screens worldwide. His stomach dropped. Emails flooded in, confused, angry, disappointed. It felt like watching his dominoes fall all over again, this time digitally. He called Ryan in panic. "It's over. I screwed it." Ryan, calm as ever, replied, "Bro, it's dominoes. You know what to do." Ethan groaned. "Don't say it." Ryan chuckled. "Build again." So he did. With the team he'd gathered, Tina the designer, MIA the barista turned community manager, and 2 local college coders, they pulled an all-nighter. Pizza boxes, coffee cups, thunder outside. At 3 a.m., Ethan sent a message to all users. "Hey everyone, we hit a snag, our dominoes fell. But here's the thing. That's what we're all about. Starting over, better, we're rebuilding together, give us one day." That message went viral. The next morning, thousands replied not with anger, but with encouragement. "We've got your back. Start again, we'll wait." That's what dominoes do. By sunset, the servers were restored, data recovered, and new features added, including an auto-save function Ethan jokingly named the Oreo protocol. The glitch became legend, proof that falling wasn't failure, just another step. DominoFlow's story got picked up by a local paper, then a national blog. Soon, Ethan was invited to speak at a motivational conference in Chicago. On stage, under bright lights, he looked out at hundreds of faces and said, "If you've ever felt like your life's dominoes keep falling, remember, every fall clears the path for a cleaner rebuild. Don't fear the collapse. Learn its rhythm." The crowd stood, clapping. He spotted Ryan in the back, recording with a proud grin. When he returned to Maplewood, the town held a small celebration. Kids ran with mini domino sets, and Martha brought pie that could legally qualify as therapy. Mayor Finn gave him a plaque reading, "Maplewood's Domino of Determination." Ethan laughed so hard he nearly dropped it. That night, as fireworks shimmered over the park again, Ethan stood by the riverbank watching their reflections ripple on the water. Lila approached, barefoot in the grass. "You did it," she said softly. He smiled. "We did it." She nodded. "Feels good, doesn't it? Falling, then building again." "Yeah," he said. "Turns out, rebuilding is just falling with better aim." She laughed, linking her arm through his. "That should be your next app slogan." Back home, Ethan placed his original domino, the first one that started everything, on his desk, right beside his computer. The room was quiet except for the hum of the ceiling fan and Oreo's gentle snore. Outside, the crickets sang like they were narrating closure. He whispered to the domino, "We did all right, huh?" And as the night deepened over small-town Maplewood, the stars above blinked like cosmic applause, celebrating the boy who learned that every collapse carries the blueprint for rebuilding, and that sometimes, humor, hope, and a handful of dominoes are all it takes to stand tall again.
Like and subscribe if you want to be happy and motivated.